Hello and welcome to day one of UTPB Coronavirus Avoidance Plan. Granted, this class is online and nothing is going to change. Nothing is changing with the way that we do things in this class. Nothing is changing with the way or the assignments that are due or how things are working. Um, we're going into week 3. Today we're going to be talking about classical criminology and the ideas of the developments of the theory of crime itself. Classical criminology came in about 1735. Um, it was brought to us first by Cesare Beccaria. He is the father of criminology, and not to be confused with Cesare Lombroso, who is the father of modern criminology and the whole positivist movement. But anyway, we're going to talk about classical criminology today, and I know I've got a video down below that I made a few years ago for an online class at Howard College. And you're going to experience that. You're going to experience that there are some videos that I'm using are mine that I have created from while I was at Howard College, some while I was at Western New Mexico University. Teaching online is something I've done since 2005. So this is not anything that's going to change the world. Let it be known, effective Sunday, I'm leaving Odessa. I will be participating in classes online through recordings such as this and in the discussion forums. My phone has access to the forums, so does my laptop. I'm still going to do my very best to give you a video every Monday to talk about the topic. But I'm going to be at different locations around the state of Texas. I've decided to start my summer trip early. I've canceled my trip up north. Have you seen the nightmare that's going on up there? I'm going to stay in Texas where it's safe. But next week's lecture will be coming to you from Abilene State Park. I'm planning on going to Possum Kingdom and Brownwood and Meridian and Palo Duro and back to Abilene and all over the place throughout the summer. I'm also building the courses for our summer courses. Registration begins April 1st, so Landon and Caitlin, make sure that you go ahead and you register for the 2 CJED courses for Summer 1, Summer 2, and the fall. All of this will be open. You can register for the entire thing, make your payments, get everything paid, and then you're going to be graduating at the end of the fall semester. Anyway, that being said, go ahead and get signed up. George, you're provisional, so we need to get your application completed. The requirements have changed, and I've sent you an email about the things that you need to do to get done so that you can continue your education and continue obtaining your master's degree. Hopefully we're going to see new faces. We're going to see new people coming in starting in the summer. Sam should be coming back. If you guys want to talk to her and remind her that she needs to get enrolled for classes. The summer classes are going to be tough and hard. It's research and statistics, but I'll try and make it as easy as possible. But back to classical criminology. Classical criminology, like I said, was brought. Cesare Beccaria wrote a book on crimes and punishment. And in this, Cesare Beccaria, or Beccaria, I say Beccaria, Dr. Kickbush says Beccaria. You guys are just going to have to understand who we're talking about when we talk about particular individuals. I've always called him Beccaria. My professors called him Beccaria, and it works that way. Yeah, notice I'm unbuttoned again. Okay, so he wrote a book on crimes and punishments, and he said that crime can be deterred because people have free will. And if you make the punishment swift, certain, and proportional to the crime, it will deter a person from committing a crime. Uh, Beccaria was opposed to the death penalty. He believed in restorative justice. He believed that if you put somebody to death, that person never had the opportunity to atone for their sins. Even though prior to Cesare Beccaria, prior to the classical criminology movement, it was thought that people that committed crime were possessed by the devil. They were in league with Satan. They were demon possessed. They were witches. And there was some superstition. There was a superstitious idea, thought that these demonic forces were making people commit crime, and to make crime their lifestyle. It's the way they did things. And next week, when we start talking about the positivist movement, um, we'll talk about what happened after the classical criminology. Well, I'll talk about it here in a minute. The positivist movement was brought to us by Susan Lombroso, who said that there were outside forces that affected us and caused us to commit crime. And then and that lasted for about 100 years till we come across the medical model and what's called as Neoclassical. It's the new old stuff. We're going to take the old stuff, we're going to repackage it into new stuff. And that was brought to us by Gottfredson and Hershey and their new theory of crime and criminality. But basically what classical criminology tells us, Jeremy Bentham he was a student of Cesare Beccaria's, and he took Cesare Beccaria's free will and he created what's known as the hedonistic calculus. Classical criminology is focused on punishment, and we can determine that if the punishment or the risk of punishment is great enough, individuals will not commit an offense. If you knew that you were going to, like Pavlov's dogs, if you knew you were going to receive a reward or a benefit for committing an action, you would commit that action. You ring the bell, the dogs would start salivating because they knew that they were going to get fed. Maslow's hierarchy of needs tells us that we are going to do what we need to do to achieve our needs. And with the coronavirus coming on, I'm thinking about, and I've been watching all the apocalyptical end of the world movies. I haven't watched Contagion yet. Apparently Contagion is really, really scary. And I haven't watched it yet. I've watched Carriers with Chris Pine. I've watched Outbreak with Dustin Hoffman and McDreamy from Grey's Anatomy. I've watched Jericho, which was actually a nuclear war, not a disease. If you watch Jeremiah is really cool. And it makes me think about what's going on today. In Jeremiah, the premise of the show was that a disease came out. They called it the Big D. The Big D came out and it killed everybody over the age of majority. Kind of like the coronavirus today is killing everybody over the age of 70. That's why we're finding a big problem in Italy and Spain, is because they have a large older population. Not as bad in South Korea or North Korea, because nobody lives to be 70 years old in those countries anyway, so these diseases aren't affecting them as much. Just because you're not 70 years old doesn't mean that you are not going to die of this. If you have an underlying condition, you can still die from this. Otherwise, it's just a really bad cold. It's a flu bug, like we fight every year anyway. But anyway, we have the free will to make the decisions that we want to make. And we decide whether or not we want to follow those. And what are the punishments? Right now we're being told that we need to stay home. We need to stay away from people. We need to isolate ourselves. My home is on wheels. My home is an RV, so I'm going to travel around to different places and I'm going to stay away from people. I'm going to go to places where there are lakes and I'm going to go fishing. I'm just going to stay there. Okay, but anyway, the hedonistic calculus says that an individual will think about an action that they're going to take. In order to think about the action they're going to take, they're going to do some math. They're going to look at the reward. They're going to look at the pleasure. They're going to look at the profit that comes from an action. And they're going to weigh it against the risk of loss of life, liberty, property, the risk of punishment. And then they are going to choose whether or not that the punishment is severe enough to where you're not going to take the action. There are several locations, several cities that are activating the state and National Guard to force people to not congregate. Some of my friends in New York, they're complaining because the cops are showing up to Friday services and said, you can't have services, you can't pray because there's 10 or more people here. Well, within my faith and my religion, in order to have services, you have to have 10 people there. You have to have what's called a minyan. And without a minyan, you can't have services. So, in effect, these laws, these rules saying that you cannot congregate with more than 10 people is a violation of the freedom of religion of the Jewish faith, because we can't have services. Our rules say there have to be 10 or more people there. The law and these executive orders are saying you can't have a group of 10 or more people, which is, again, that's a violation of the First Amendment. Does anybody care? No, everybody's enforcing this rule, saying you can't get together with 9 other people because that's a violation of the law and you're going to spread this sickness. You know, if I'm sick, it doesn't matter if I'm with 10 people or 100 people or 1 person, I'm going to give it to everybody else. You know, which is why I'm going to the state parks. I'm not going to be around anybody and nobody's going to be around me. I wonder how many people are coming up with this idea. The risk is better. The profit is better. The benefit is better for me to go hang out in a state park next to a lake and go fishing all the time. I can eat my fish. I don't have to associate with people. I don't need to go into town. I don't need to do anything that will hinder my activities. So anyway, I leave Sunday. So my Sunday discussions will, you know, I'll do discussion Saturday night and then late Sunday. The neoclassical takes, we have the free will, but there's other things that influence our decision. Poverty and a lot of the things that came out of the Positivist Movement. Neoclassical theory of crime from Gottfredson and Hershey suggests that crime is free will. We are going to make decisions upon the risk, but baby needs a new pair of shoes, and if I can't get those shoes legitimately, I'm going to get them illegitimately. We're going to pull in a little bit of Robert Merton, who we'll talk about when we get to conflict theory. But classical criminology says that we have free will, and we can choose whether or not we are going to follow the law. We can choose if we're going to self-isolate. We can choose and we can decide if we're going to, apparently my collar's messed up. It's starting to irritate me. Okay. We can make those choices. We can choose what we're going to do. We can choose how we live our lives. Classical criminology says focuses on punishment. Okay. And if the punishment is severe enough, it's proportional enough, it will prevent us from committing crimes and taking actions that go against the desires of the greater community. So, stay safe, stay healthy, stay by yourself. I'll see you in the forums.